Everybody's supposed to get on the back, slide. That whole little poster is supposed to be on the back of the truck. Yeah. And I said, before they get on, let me just do a little test drive.
It was the kind of headline that made you squint twice.
Number 1. Vin Diesel Jason Statham dropped the bomb that he actually hates Vin Diesel. Jaws across Hollywood and the internet dropped simultaneously. I mean, these are two of the biggest action stars in the world. They've shared screen time in blockbuster franchises, exchanged punches, and delivered lines that fans still quote to this day. And yet, behind the cameras, things weren't exactly smooth. Here's the context. Statham and Diesel co-starred in Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw. On the surface, it looked like the perfect pairing. Statham, the calm, calculated, stoic assassin. Diesel, the alpha-dominant, larger-than-life leader of the Fast family. Fans expected sparks, yes, but of the cinematic kind. What they didn't know was that some sparks were less fun. According to Statham, Diesel had a tendency to make productions about himself, arriving late, requesting scene changes, demanding rewrites that favored his character, and generally asserting his alpha presence. These were things Statham found exhausting. In Statham's words, it was like working with a teenager trapped in a bodybuilder's body. And that's coming from a man who's built his entire career on discipline, precision, and delivering every stunt flawlessly. Now, it's important to note, Statham isn't some bitter co-star lashing out for drama. He's famously stoic. He doesn't rant. He doesn't engage in Hollywood gossip. But when he names someone and uses the word hate, it carries weight. The frustration wasn't personal, it was professional. Statham values efficiency, collaboration, and mutual respect on set. Diesel's approach, according to him, clashed with that. Yet for all the tension, the chemistry on screen was undeniable. Number 2. Shia LaBeouf, the actor who never made it to Statham's set. When Jason Statham named Shia LaBeouf as someone he hates, it caught everyone completely off guard. Why? Because the two never even shared a set. They were in talks for a project a few years ago, and what happened behind the scenes reveals the kind of tensions Statham just doesn't tolerate. According to Statham, the project studio was excited about LaBeouf joining, but he had serious reservations. He reportedly found LaBeouf unprofessional. When LaBeouf discovered that Statham wasn't on board, he allegedly sent a tense, unprofessional message. Statham didn't go into specifics, but anyone familiar with LaBeouf's off-screen reputation can imagine. Public meltdowns, aggressive method acting, and volatility have made LaBeouf infamous in Hollywood circles. For Statham, the problem wasn't talent, it was temperament. "I just want to get the job done without someone throwing a tantrum in their trailer," he said. That line cuts straight to the heart of Statham's philosophy: efficiency, professionalism, and respect on set. Number 3. Steven Seagal, from martial arts icon to Statham's frustration. When it comes to action legends, Steven Seagal once held a revered spot in Hollywood. Martial arts mastery, cool presence, the kind of aura that drew fans worldwide. But to Jason Statham, Seagal's reputation is far more complicated, and not in a flattering way. Statham didn't hold back. He called Seagal a joke, criticizing his over-the-top theatrics and inflated self-image. "I trained for years in martial arts. He turned it into a pantomime," Statham said. For someone like Statham, whose early films, Lock, Stock, Snatch, were grounded in realism, authenticity is everything. Seagal's style, he argued, lacked that discipline and substance. This wasn't a personal vendetta. It was philosophical. Statham respects hard work, skill, and dedication. Seagal, in his eyes, relied on mystique and reputation rather than genuine craft. And for Statham, that's unacceptable. Fans might chuckle at this jab, but it underscores a serious principle. Statham admires authenticity, and anyone who undermines it risks criticism. Number 4. Jared Leto, when method acting goes too far. Jason Statham's issues with Jared Leto aren't about ability, they're about extreme behavior. The two nearly worked together on a thriller, but Statham says Leto's method acting was over the top. He wouldn't break character even in meetings, demanded to be called by his role's name, and treated professional prep like some spiritual ritual. For Statham, this crossed a line. He values professionalism, punctuality, and collaboration. "I don't care how good you are on screen. If I have to babysit someone's ego just to make a movie, I'm out," he said. Leto's antics, part celebrity legend, part meme fodder, simply didn't mesh with Statham's disciplined, no-nonsense approach. This is a reminder that Hollywood's most talented actors aren't automatically easy to work with. Even a method genius like Leto can clash with someone who prioritizes teamwork over theatrics. Number 5. Mark Wahlberg. When Jason Statham found a Hollywood clash. Jason Statham's recent revelation that he hates Mark Wahlberg shocked many fans, and for good reason. These are two of the biggest action stars to emerge from the late 1990s and early 2000s. Both have careers built on toughness, charisma, and box office appeal. They even shared the screen in the slick heist film The Italian Job, 2003. On paper, it seemed like a perfect collaboration. Two stars, one epic ensemble piece, lots of action, and audience excitement. But behind the cameras, according to Statham, things were far from smooth. Wahlberg, Statham revealed, had a habit of making moments about himself. This wasn't just about sharing screen time. It was about controlling the room, dictating the energy, and in Statham's eyes, letting ego get in the way of professionalism. Whether it was cracking jokes on set, taking extra time for promotional calls, or casually posturing for attention, Statham found it distracting. What frustrated Statham most was what he saw as inconsistency. Wahlberg projected a working-class Boston tough guy persona in public appearances, interviews, and even in certain roles. Yet off-camera, his life told a very different story. Private flights, business seminars, and multi-million-dollar ventures in health and supplements. Statham, who built his career on discipline, preparation, and a no-nonsense approach to acting and stunts, couldn't reconcile that gap. To him, it felt performative rather than authentic, a contrast he couldn't ignore. Now, it's important to understand Jason Statham's mindset. He's not a man who complains casually or throws public shade for drama. His career is built on precision, physicality, and professionalism. He doesn't rant. He doesn't indulge in Hollywood gossip. So when he names someone hate, it carries weight. It's not a passing remark. It's a deliberate professional assessment. Despite this tension, it's worth noting that The Italian Job itself was a success. The film remains one of those early 2000s ensemble heist classics that audiences revisit with nostalgia. Statham and Wahlberg shared the screen and delivered memorable performances. But according to Statham, even working alongside someone talented isn't enough if the collaboration becomes mired in ego and posturing. In Statham's eyes, professionalism on set is non-negotiable. He values punctuality, focus, and mutual respect. If a co-star disrupts that, it affects not just him, but the crew, the production, and ultimately the final product. Wahlberg's behavior, as described by Statham, clashed with these core values. It wasn't about personal dislike in the traditional sense. It was about principles. Statham respects actors who bring their talent without creating unnecessary distractions or drama. Wahlberg, in his perspective, failed that test. This revelation also gives fans a rare glimpse into the realities of Hollywood productions. Screen chemistry and box office success can often mask underlying friction. On red carpets, interviews, and behind closed doors, actors are expected to maintain facades of camaraderie. But Statham's candid admission reminds us that even seemingly perfect collaborations have tension underneath. Interestingly, the Wahlberg-Statham dynamic highlights a broader theme in Statham's career. From his early Guy Ritchie films to action-heavy franchises, Statham has consistently prioritized efficiency, authenticity, and collaboration over ego or spectacle. He respects talent, but only when it's paired with professionalism. Anyone who undermines that balance risks being called out, even publicly. First, Hollywood isn't always what it seems. A co-star might be charming on camera, but challenging behind it. Second, Statham's approach underscores the value he places on discipline and respect in collaborative art. And finally, it reminds fans that action stars, no matter how polished or charismatic on screen, are human, and human dynamics can be complicated. Next time you watch The Italian Job, pay attention not just to the stylish heists and witty dialogue, but also to the subtle behind-the-scenes tension that may have existed. For Jason Statham, working with Mark Wahlberg wasn't just about making a film. It was about navigating ego, professionalism, and authenticity. And in Statham's eyes, that's where the real conflict arose. Whether you agree with him or not, one thing is clear. Jason Statham doesn't mince words. When he names someone, it's worth listening. And when it comes to Mark Wahlberg, that verdict is unforgettable.